never realized what it meant to truly feel alive until I hit 64. The thought echoed in my mind like a quiet challenge. What had I held myself back from? What parts of life had I turned away from? All for the sake of comfort and caution. The questions weren't accusations. They were revelations. And in that moment, as Logan looked at me with eyes full of quiet encouragement, I found a strange sort of bravery. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. His silence held space for me, and that gave me the courage to let my fingers slowly reach up and tug the straps off my shoulders. Oh, hello. Didn't see you there. I was just recounting a memory. A memory I never thought I'd share. Maybe it's best if I start from the beginning. That way, you'll understand how everything unfolded. How one ordinary afternoon in Cincinnati became anything but ordinary. I was 64 and had lived alone since my husband Henry passed away 12 years ago. He was a good man, but after he was gone, I'd built a life around solitude. Quiet, structured, and a little too safe. That morning, I finally decided it was time to face something I'd been avoiding for years. The basement. That cluttered little underworld filled with forgotten boxes, the stale scent of old paper, and the ghosts of decades past. The first box I opened brought with it a surprise. An old photo album, one I hadn't seen since my late 30s. As I flipped through the pages, a certain image made me stop. It was me, in a vibrant orange bikini at a beach bonfire, a margarita in one hand, laughing without a trace of inhibition. A version of me I'd almost forgotten existed. That moment of nostalgia was interrupted by the creak of the basement door. I turned, startled, to see Logan, my step-grandson, standing there with a takeaway coffee in one hand and that familiar grin of his. "Hey, thought I'd drop in," he said, stepping down the stairs. "Saw your car out front. Looks like you could use a hand." "Logan," I gasped, both surprised and delighted. "When did you get in?" "Just now," he replied, already making his way toward me before I could object. He was older now, 27, and carried himself with that confident ease of someone who had grown into his skin. His eyes landed on the album I was clutching. "What's this?" he asked, reaching for it before I could react. The photo on top, the beach one, stared back at him. I held my breath as he studied it, his expression shifting slowly. "This is you." I laughed nervously. Yes, that was me back in the day. A wild summer out on the coast. Before life got so routine. He looked from the photo to me, eyes wide with something I hadn't expected. Wonder, maybe even admiration. "It's kind of hard to imagine," he said, smiling. "But it suits you." That flicker inside me returned. A warmth I hadn't felt in years. But it wasn't right, I told myself. This was a moment that didn't belong in the light. I shook my head, trying to dismiss the feelings rising in my chest. "Well, enough of that," I said quickly, snapping the album closed. "Let's get these boxes upstairs before we both disappear in a cloud of dust." But as I reached to shut the book completely, Logan gently caught my hand. "Wait," he said, his tone half serious, half teasing. "We should go through these. I mean, come on. This is amazing. You look so different. So full of energy." I hesitated. Some of those pictures weren't exactly grandmother approved. But the way Logan looked at me, his eyes full of respect and genuine interest, I found myself nodding. "Just know that not all of them are church-friendly," I said with a coy smile. He chuckled, already settling beside me on the old couch, flipping to the next page with an excited grin. The images changed. Beach scenes giving way to dimly lit clubs, laughter captured in grainy snapshots, and that one infamous picture of me in a curve-hugging red dress, caught mid-spin on a dance floor. Logan paused on that one. His eyes lingered, moving between the photo and me. "Seriously," he said, awe lacing his voice. "This is you." "Yep," I murmured. "We were a bit bolder back then. Different times." He was quiet for a beat, then said, "You're kind of amazing." That made my cheeks flush. I didn't know whether it was the words, his tone, or just how close he was now. His shoulder brushing mine, his breath warming the space between us, but something stirred deep inside me. Something I hadn't allowed myself to feel in years. I realized, as we sat there in that dusty basement, that Henry had never looked at me the way Logan was looking at me now. Even when I was young, even when I tried to be everything a wife was supposed to be, Henry always held something back, like affection was something that had to be earned instead of shared. He was steady, reserved, polite, but his eyes never softened the way Logan's were softening in that moment. Logan, though, his attention was different, warm, open, unfiltered. The way he looked at me said more than any compliment ever could. We kept turning the pages, and the photographs got bolder. There I was on a boardwalk wearing short denim shorts and a bikini top, laughing with friends like joy came naturally to me. Another showed me dancing under neon lights in a clingy black dress, my hair wild around my shoulders, my smile bright and unguarded. Logan let out a low breath, almost like a quiet awe. "It's a privilege to see these," he murmured. "You were stunning even then. Henry was lucky to have you." His words warmed something inside me, but they also woke something I hadn't felt in years, something I had once tried to bury. As I felt his gaze linger, I realized there was a pull between us neither of us could pretend not to feel. He embodied the kind of presence I had always longed for in my youth, someone confident, attentive, curious, and unafraid to show admiration. When we reached the final page, Logan closed the album, but his eyes didn't leave mine. "Margaret," he said softly, "you're extraordinary." I didn't expect the words to hit me the way they did. I couldn't remember the last time anyone had looked at me like a woman rather than a memory. My heart fluttered, something I'd forgotten it could do. The basement was cool and dim, but the air around us felt warm, almost electric. Logan's presence was doing something to me, tugging me backward in time, making me feel alive again. He leaned in slightly. "After seeing those pictures, I need to say this. You haven't lost anything. You're still just as beautiful." I felt the breath leave my chest a little. Even in my younger days, compliments like that were rare, especially from Henry, who always thought emotions should be quiet and controlled. I swallowed. "Maybe I've grown older," I said, steadier than I felt, "but it doesn't mean my desires disappeared. I haven't forgotten them." Logan's green eyes didn't waver. "I know," he said, "and that's what makes you captivating." My gaze moved over him for just a second. The strong build, the relaxed confidence in the way he stood, the natural warmth in his expression. He looked like every man I used to dream about when I was young enough to believe dreams could be real. "It's strange hearing that from someone like you," I said quietly. "Henry was never like this. He was dependable, yes. But he never stirred anything in me." "Not really." Logan tilted his head gently. "But that's not the kind of connection you wanted, was it?" I hesitated, then nodded. "No. I always felt like something was missing." His voice was calm but certain. "Maybe now is the time to find what fills that space." The words struck something deep, like a match touching paper. After a moment, Logan stood. He slid his hands into his pockets and looked at me with a quiet confidence that was impossible to ignore. "I'm going to put my bike in the garage," he said. "I'll be right back. Wait for me in the living room. Don't stay down here alone." His tone was gentle, but there was something commanding in it, something that made my pulse skip. He nodded. "All right, Logan." He went up the stairs, his footsteps steady, and I watched him go. The thought of him working on that motorcycle, focused, strong, determined, stirred memories of the kind of man I once promised myself I would never settle for less than. "He's so close to the man I used to imagine," I murmured to myself. But he was my step-grandson. And yet, something was shifting undeniably. I went to the living room and waited. It wasn't long before Logan returned, holding a bottle of wine. The moment I saw the label, I froze. Was my favorite, my secret favorite, one I rarely bought anymore. I found the best one I could, he said, smiling just slightly. I hoped you'd like it. Like it, I whispered. Logan, this is my favorite. How did you know? He shrugged, his expression warm in a way that made my chest tighten. I used to notice things. I guess I never forgot. The spark inside me flared, softly, unmistakably. I said softly, "This wine is really special, and so thoughtful. Thank you." He opened the bottle, poured it into 2 glasses, and handed one to me. "Then let's share some good memories tonight, Margaret," he said. I raised my glass and we toasted. As I took the first sip, the unique taste of the rose danced on my tongue, and I couldn't help but keep my eyes on Logan. As the conversation flowed, I found myself drawn to him, not just for how he looked, but for the way he thought and carried himself. At one point, when our glasses were nearly empty, Logan's eyes locked onto mine once again. There was a warmth in his gaze, a pull I couldn't ignore. Inside me, I felt something shifting, a mix of fear and excitement. But I still had no idea where these feelings were leading me. Suddenly, Logan paused. He set his glass down on the table and turned his eyes back to me. This time, his gaze was more determined, more intense. "Margaret," he said, his voice low but filled with emotion he couldn't hide. I looked at him and realized my breathing had quickened, my heart pounding in my chest. "Yes, Logan," I whispered, my voice barely audible, as if it couldn't manage more in that moment. Logan reached for my hand. The warmth of his fingers moving gently over my delicate, slender hand sent a rush of emotions through me. "I know I shouldn't say this," he began, "but when I look at you, I just can't stop myself. You're not just incredibly beautiful. You're so much more than I ever imagined." His words echoed somewhere deep inside me, and I felt my face flush. "Logan, you..." I started, but before I could finish, he hesitated for just a moment, then leaned in. In that moment, my heart felt like it was about to stop. Watching him move closer, I knew I should say no. But I couldn't fight the powerful pull I felt toward him. When his lips touched mine, slow and deliberate, the world seemed to pause for an instant. That kiss, it was gentle but also deep. I felt desires I had suppressed for years suddenly come flooding back. As his strong hands moved to my waist, I let myself fully surrender to the moment. When Logan's lips pulled away from mine, the tension between us still lingered in the air. My heart was still pounding like crazy. I looked at him, hoping my eyes could somehow express what I was feeling, but putting those emotions into words seemed impossible. In that moment, driven by an impulse I couldn't ignore, I leaned in and kissed him again. This time it was me making the move. As my lips pressed against his once more, something inside me felt alive again. Logan seemed a little surprised at first, but he quickly responded. Our kiss became deeper, more passionate. His hand slid to my waist, his strong fingers pulling me closer with a gentle yet firm touch. I could feel his warmth radiating through my entire body. As we lay side by side on the couch, there was barely any space left between us. His presence, his breath, everything about him filled the moment completely. Resting against Logan's chest, a restless feeling began to stir inside me. My heart was still racing, but this time it wasn't fear or hesitation. It was a burning desire to let go completely. I slowly sat up, feeling his curious but calm gaze on me. His eyes, so focused and intense, seemed to understand everything happening inside me without needing a single word. As I stood up, I hesitated for a moment, my heart pounding, as I let a bold, powerful urge take over. My hands moved to the thin straps of my dress, which had started to feel like chains holding me back. Logan didn't say a word. He just watched me, and somehow that gave me courage. He was supporting me not with his hands, but with his eyes. When my fingers grasped the straps and slowly slipped them down, the dress slid off my shoulders, falling gently to the floor. The fabric pooled around my bare feet like a soft puddle. In that moment I could finally breathe. It wasn't just a physical act, it felt symbolic. Like shedding years of restraint and finally freeing myself. When I turned my gaze back to Logan, the admiration and awe in his expression were unmistakable. He didn't have to say a thing. He understood. This was me, breaking through my own limits and accepting myself fully. Logan slowly stood up from where he was sitting and reached out his hand toward me. His touch was, as always, both tender and strong. But this time I wasn't just embracing him. I was embracing all of myself. For a full 15 minutes, I stayed in that exact position on the couch, barely moving. I was so close to passing out, but somehow I managed to hold on. Maybe it was the years of longing that had built up this strange resilience in me. Logan's broad, powerful frame had always drawn me in. But now the intensity of my attraction was on another level entirely. I was left breathless, like I had just left the entire world behind. My heart was racing, my body trembling, and every inch of me felt the impact of his presence. For the first time in my life, I felt physically exhausted, in the most exhilarating way. It wasn't a limit. It was a liberation. Even as I was lost in these overwhelming emotions, my mind wandered into a strange reflection. I didn't truly live until now, I thought to myself. Henry, what did he hold me back from all these years? What did I deny myself for so long? This inner questioning felt like both a quiet rebellion and a long overdue awakening. Logan, still catching his breath, ran a hand through his hair. Seeing that he was just as affected as I was somehow comforted me. He gave a faint smile, fixing his tousled hair, and in a low voice he said, "I'm going to take a shower." In that moment, I felt the sparkle in his eyes, the softness in his voice, and the calm determination behind it all. And just like that, everything became even more real. I watched Logan disappear down the hallway, but my thoughts stayed rooted in the moment we had just shared, and the bittersweet wonder of finding parts of myself I never knew I'd lost, all so late in life. If you've followed the story this far, I know something in it has touched you. But trust me, this is only the beginning. There's still so much more to tell, and I promise, you won't want to miss what's coming next. So don't forget to follow, turn on those notifications, and leave a comment with your thoughts. I'd love to know what this story stirred in you. Let's keep the conversation going. Your support truly means everything.